A deal is done. The European Commission President meets UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and agrees a new deal to govern post-Brexit trade between the two. The missing Chinese billionaire Bao Fan is cooperating with the authorities. But what kind of message are they trying to send? Hello and welcome to World Business Report. I'm Jonathan Josephs. Thanks for joining us wherever in the world you are. If you thought Brexit was done and dusted, think again. It might be 3 years since the UK formally left the European Union, but the deal they agreed left a lot of people unhappy about the way trade was done between the two. And that's why European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is in the UK, where she's been holding talks with Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And in the last few minutes, a senior government source has told the BBC an agreement has been reached on that post-Brexit Northern Ireland trade deal. So let's join Jess Sargent, who is a senior researcher at the Institute for Government. Jess, thanks for joining us. That is, I should say, an independent think tank based here in London. But Jess, we know a deal has been done. We've learnt that in the last few minutes. We still don't know the details of what it actually says. But what were some of the issues that it was trying to address, the things that business was really concerned with?
So this deal is for new flexibility and potentially changes on the Northern Ireland Protocol. So the Northern Ireland Protocol was part of the Brexit deal that covered this specific region to prevent the need for a hard border on the island of Ireland and allowed frictionless trade between Northern Ireland and the rest of the EU to continue. But because of that, it was required to apply EU law in certain areas which introduced new trading frictions from Great Britain, the rest of which was outside the EU single market, and Northern Ireland. And that's created a lot of problems for business who trade within the UK, who are finding it more difficult to send goods from Great Britain to Northern Ireland because they need to comply with a whole new lot of paperwork and there need to be some checks. So that's created challenges for businesses, but also it's created some political difficulties. Most notably, the largest unionist party in Northern Ireland, the DUP, is refusing to go into government in protest over the deal.
So, Jess, as I said, we don't know the details yet. We do know this deal has been done. That is the breaking news. But what sort of changes would you expect it may contain to address some of those problems?
So we're expecting what the deal will do is allow traders to distinguish between goods going between Great Britain and Northern Ireland and staying there, and they'll be subject to reduced checks. There'll be much fewer pieces of paperwork that need to be filled out, and it will only be goods that are going onto the EU that will be subject to full checks and controls. Now, a lot of the devil will be in the detail here in terms of what traders might have to comply with to prove that their goods are staying in Northern Ireland. And so I'm sure there'll be a lot of business groups in Northern Ireland that will be poring over the details of the deal once we get them.
And so we have this deal, and do you think that it will indeed reiterate the UK and the EU relationship in terms of trade, whereby the EU, despite Brexit happening, is still the UK's biggest trading partner? Is that something that you think will now be in a position to grow even further?
So certainly I think the Northern Ireland Protocol has been a thorn in the side of the UK-EU relationship and has hampered better cooperation in a lot of other areas. I think by removing that, by reaching a deal, I think we will see improvements. We're expecting some better cooperation on things like scientific funding. We don't expect that it will significantly change the UK and EU's broader trading relationships. I think the UK government has been clear that the Brexit deal that it signed for the whole of the UK is the right relationship at this point. But certainly it will pave the way for agreements in other areas and just better relations more generally.
Good thing to know there. Better relations are always helpful, aren't they, Jess? Thank you very much. Jess Sargent from the Institute for Government. And just to reiterate that breaking news, a new Brexit deal has been done between the UK and the European Union. We're still waiting the details for that, but stay tuned here on BBC World News and we'll bring you more as we have it, and also on the BBC News website. Now, let's move on to this man behind me. The Chinese billionaire Bao Fan, who went missing for 11 days, is now, it seems, helping the country's authorities with an investigation, according to the company that he founded, which is China Renaissance Holdings. It was reported that he was missing 11 days ago, and the man is influential because he is a leading deal broker for some of China's top technology firms, such as the ride-hailing app Didi and the shopping platform Meituan. This isn't the first time that a Chinese business leader has disappeared like this. So what more do we know? Kerry Allen is the BBC's China media analyst. Kerry, what details do we have about Bao Fan, and Why is he such an interesting figure?
We don't have many more details than what has been in media, the message from China Renaissance Holdings, which is that, yes, that he's cooperating with an investigation. We don't know the nature of this investigation, but some finance media have been reporting that the former president at China Renaissance, Tong Ling, was investigated back in September. So some analysts are suspecting that it could be linked to that. But yeah, there's very little about this to offer further kind of expectation as to why he's not been seen or heard from. So yes, it's been 11 days, but he's not been replying to messages either on social media platforms, or he's not been answering the phone. And so yeah, at the moment there's still a lot of speculation about whether he himself is under investigation or whether he's cooperating related to somebody else.
And Kerry, we had seen in recent weeks in the Chinese media signs that this crackdown by the authorities on the big tech companies trying to rein in their unabated drive for profits had been perhaps starting to ease. But is this a different sign? What sort of message are the authorities trying to send by letting this information be known?
Well, there are some who are now starting to speculate about whether President Xi Jinping is cracking down on big tech figures again. And there are surprises about this if this is the case, because for the last 3 years, China has been closed off because of zero COVID, and the economy has suffered. So there has been a lot of messaging in state media that companies are seeing easings and they're able to practice less so than under the restraints that they used to have. But yeah, Xi Jinping has been criticized for zero COVID, and there are some who kind of think that this might now be an opportunity because of protests last year, for example, to reassert that the Communist Party has the ultimate power. Even though there are these big financial figures, these billionaires in the country who have a lot of influence, who have a lot of power, who are connected to a lot of people, the Communist Party might be trying to send a message here.
Kerry Allen, thank you very much for that update on Bao Fan, China media analyst for the BBC. Now, let's move on to the Australian firm Recharge Industries, because it is buying the British battery maker Britishvolt out of administration. Britishvolt had plans to build a $5 billion gigafactory to build batteries for electric cars in the northeast of England, but it ran out of money and collapsed last month. The company's downfall was blamed on a lack of battery experience, unproven technology, and a lack of customers, as well as money coming in. So a lot of factors there. Now, the boss of the new owner has been speaking to our business editor, Simon Jack, about why his company has a different approach.
What we're bringing, which is different to the prior Britishvolt, is we're bringing validated technology. So that process has already started. US Defence has also validated the technology. It's actually already supplied to the UK Navy through a subcontractor over here.
Do you understand why people are a bit nervous about this? Because you've got a financial services background in capital markets and banking. You've got a small headcount. You run basically like a private equity group. You've tried to bring in bits of expertise, academics in the US, what have you. But what people can't see is a Tesla, General Motors, Ford, Volvo, BMW, those kind of people involved in this. And that's where people were hoping this was going to go.
Yeah, well, I think, number one, they all started somewhere before they became big. Yeah, we've got accelerated growth and have been successful all along the way. At the end of the day, those are customers for us. You know, and so we have some of those names in our base of customers. So a lot of them don't all come in and build batteries, some of them do, and a lot of them use other technologies. You know, what we will need is the people locally, the contractors that will re-engage, that will start employing, you know, and we have the benefit of picking up and leveraging a lot of the stuff that was in place, as well as a lot of the stuff that was already underway.
Obviously, there's a lot of focus on this because it's seen as an important part of the jigsaw of future manufacturing here in the UK. Have you spoken to anyone in government?
Appreciate how important government is. So we've spent a lot of time, for starters, with the Northumberland County Council, and I just want to say they genuinely just want a gigafactory built and the best thing for their people.
And just one other story to leave you with this hour. Twitter has cut more jobs over the weekend. 200 more posts are going as Elon Musk continues to cut costs at the tech company. That's all we've got time for. Thanks very much for watching. There's plenty more on the website.